Hey Ram fam, it's time for Ramzone. Now to our host.
What's up, Ram fam? I'm your new host, Kade Hinojosa. Welcome back to a new season of Ramzone. I'm here with the Ram Bell soccer coach, Travis McCorkle, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I just wanted to get started by getting just to know you just a little bit. I did a little bit of research on you. This is your 17th season here at ASU?
I think it's the 18th.
18th.
Yeah,
Okay, wow.
2008, 25. So yeah, well, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you've been the head coach since 2008.
Yeah.
You originally went to school at Mesa State. I saw somewhere that you originally were going for a DEA agent.
Yeah.
How did that switch from being a DEA agent to a soccer coach?
Well, so how I got into it first place was I went hunting with my dad, and the first 2 days of hunting, I got one deer and one elk with 2 bullets.
Okay, nice.
So I said, well, you know, my dad was a police officer, and my one of my grandfathers was a state patrolman. And so it seemed like maybe that'd be a path to take. My vision wasn't good enough, so I couldn't do anything like flying, which is what every young kid wants to do, I think. And so I decided that I was going to go in the DEA. I was going to get my criminal justice degree and then go into the Coast Guard, go into their officer cadet school and learn how to fly a helicopter. And then what I really wanted to be was I wanted to be sniper support for DEA agents in the field. And then about my junior year, we got a new professor, and I just didn't like the professor. I was like an average student in the beginning and getting A's and B's. And then I was busting my tail, and I was only getting C's and D's with the new guy. And so I went home that summer, and I did, the city parks asked me to do a camp for them, a summer camp. And so I did that, and I thought, well, I've never really considered myself a jock in any way. And because where I grew up, soccer wasn't a varsity sport. Mm-hmm. And so but I played baseball and basketball too. But anyways, when that new professor came in, I just decided that, you know, maybe I'd try kinesiology and see. And then because of that, I started taking some classes that actually my not then wife was also in. And so it worked out well. But that was a whole nother story because I didn't talk to her for 2 years after I met her. But yeah, so I just changed, and I really enjoyed coaching, and I loved the interaction with the players, to see them improve and get something that you try and teach them. And then to see them win obviously is nice, but really it's about them getting better. And so that part I really fell in love with. And so I got into coaching. I coached the college club team while I was there. I was a coach player.
You were the founder of that, weren't you?
Yeah. So did that, co-founder, another guy.
Okay.
Helped me with we had to do like bylaws and whatever, and I wasn't good at those. So did that, and then started helping out with I was assistant coach of the girls high school team there in Fruita in Colorado, and then did the boys high school team for a couple of years, and then finished my degree, and I got hired as the director of coaching for the youth soccer club. So that's where I'm primarily teaching coaches how to coach kids. And then basically after a while, I finally got them to agree to let me actually coach a team. And so I did that for a while there too. And then in 99, my wife said that I was seemed tired of dealing with parents. So then I said, well, I don't know what else to do. I said, I have to have a master's to go into college, you know, and if you're not a former like high level player, probably not going to get a job in coaching the guys. So the plan was I would go and start my master's program. So I did that through University of Northern Colorado in sport administration, which at the time was only a couple schools that were doing that program. And got that degree, or actually did the first summer, the second summer, and then I was applying for jobs. And just before, like in February or March is when I came here to be an assistant in 2001. So I was here for 2 years as an assistant, and then went to Eastern Mexico, started the women's team there in 2003. And then in 2004, started the men's team. So in 2004, like normally we recruit, high number would be like 9 or 10 girls. And that year I recruited 46 players, 16 for the women's team and 30 for the guys team. So, and then was there for 5 years, looked at some other places. Basically, I didn't want to get that far away from Colorado. So I had an opportunity at a school back east that was really good, but I just didn't want to be that far away from home. And so I waited. And then just before the season started, the coach that was here before, Tom Brown, who I'd worked with before, he left for Sam Houston. And so they called me and asked if I'd be interested in coming back. So I've been here happily since 2008.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And since then, you are the most winning coach in ASU history.
Okay.
You have 14 10-plus win seasons.
Okay.
7 NCAA postseason appearances, and 5 Lone Star Conferences Coach of the Year. You have a good track record behind you.
A couple regional coaching staff of the year and one national staff of the year as well.
Nice. So you're just stacking them up.
Yeah, we try to do our best. I mean, just like every coach is trying to do, we want our players to enjoy their time here. We want them to be proud of being a part of the program and being a part of ASU. And then, yeah, obviously the winning part is something that, I think we've done a good job of most seasons, recruiting all the right kids and being competitive and creating how ASU plays. And I think that's one of the things that, whenever I am done, that's going to be something that I'm the most proud of is the way that we play. We don't always have the most talented, skilled players, technically, but I think that we teach them how to defend hard, how to be competitive as a group, and, just how they drive each other in games. And I think that that's something that we do that's a little bit different than, some other schools.
Nice. Going back to, the club soccer team that you started back at Mesa, how, co-founding that, what was that overall experience like, and what influenced your leadership style today as head coach at ASU?
It was different. I mean, in that situation, I think it's a lot of ego driven, to be honest with you. If you don't have a big enough ego, it's going to be hard for you to coach other egos. And that's true with most guys' teams, at really any age group. But yeah, I mean, and then the other part is you have to be able to back it up. So I think that my performance on the field was good enough that they trusted me and believed in, the decisions that I made when I was coaching there. But it was much different. It was much different than formal coaching like I would do with club teams now or like I would do with the college team. So back then, I mean, I was just getting started. So our practices were a lot of just playing, and then we would talk about some certain things with set pieces, some ideas that we had. But really, I would just manage the subs. And, that part was a little bit difficult because when you're out in the field playing, and then, how do I know when I should go out? Because I never was tired. So I can play the whole 90 minutes. So, but it was different, because the talent level was up from what I had been playing with in high school. But I had just gone to Europe for 5 weeks and spent 5 weeks over there playing. And so I did have a lot of confidence going into that. But it just kind of gave me a little glimpse into it. And then I started doing some coaching stuff on the side, like I said. And then once I started working with the girls' high school team, that's when I really got more the organization and everything. I went to some coaching courses, and that's something in soccer that they have that's pretty big, where you start off like at an F level and then an E, a D, a C, B, and A. And now they have a Pro A even. Back when I took it, I think I was it was a low number. I forget what the number is, but I was really proud of the fact that I had my A, and I was I don't know what the number was, but there weren't that many people that had it in the U.S. And at the time I was 24.
Okay.
So I was pretty excited about that. I was coaching and participating in that clinic with other guys that were going off to Europe and playing professionally. And some of them had worked with the national team. Some of them played for the national team. And so when I finished with that, I was like, listen, if I can get this and be good, I feel like I could be good in other environments too.
Nice. That's awesome. We saw the 2024 season end with a historic record-setting as a historic record-setting season, winning 14 games with only 2 losses and 5 draws. You also had 10 different players get Lone Star Conference recognition and 4 players named to the All-Region team rankings. How did last season influence the training going into this season, and what are y'all doing to ensure the team goes further this year?
Well, one of the things is just for us to lean on the players. There's leadership things that I have to do, and my assistant and my GAs. There's things in there that we have to take charge, and this is the way things are going to be done. But I think that when you're looking at the way that your team will be the most successful, I think that it needs to be driven by the players. It needs to be driven most of the time it's going to be by returning players, because players and coaches interact differently, but players to players act in a different, unique way too. And I think that I lead them through my leaders, and I also lead them in practice, but I will lead my team through conversations that I have with the captains, conversations that I have with our leadership group, and I will impose things to them that I want them to do. And also they will try and impose things that they know how things should be done, and they know our way. They know the ASU way that it's supposed to be done. And so it's a collaboration of effort. Obviously I drive the bus, but I think that the players are, the ones that are helping they interact with the players more often than I do, because they see them outside of practice. They see them in the training room. They see them when the girls are out having fun or having a meal or whatever. And so I'm just trying to maximize all the input that the players can get to help them be the best that they can be while they're here. And I think that we've done historically a really good job about that, about getting the most out of players. I mean, our first ever All-American player was one. That was Sierra Anderson. She passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately, with breast cancer. But she came to us, and she was a player that Midwestern, which is where she was from, was going to offer like half books. And we offered her a little bit more than that because I saw a little bit more in her. And we developed her in that first year. She played like in 7 games, and the next year had become a pretty regular starter. Junior and senior years start all the time. She was our first ever All-American, and she's a player that nobody else was looking to recruit highly. And again, this is where coaching and team expectations and all those kind of things can have an impact, because she was our first ever All-American at Angelo State. So, and nobody was looking at her. It wasn't like we stole a 5-star blue chip player from somebody. Through the work of that player and the work of the staff and the players of the team, we helped to create an All-American.
Nice. I love that you're able to kind of see, I guess, the potential in people where maybe some other people can't. And so that was one of my next questions is, as a team effort, obviously there's work that goes into like building the team and coaching them as a group together. But what goes into how do you find that balance of coaching a team while also trying to build up an individual as well to make them an even stronger member of the team?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that during our preseason and during the first season that we play, it's a little bit difficult to build up a freshman. A lot of it they have to glean from other players, and they have to have some of that within them. And if they don't have any confidence when they come in, it's going to be a struggle. And it's going to be a struggle not because we didn't help them. It's just that they're probably going to be a little bit harder on themselves during practice. When they make mistakes, they don't know how to recover from them. And these are things that, in my personal opinion, these are things that parents need to do with the kids before they come in. Obviously, teachers have a big part of that now, especially today where most families are dual income, which means that parents aren't around and aren't interacting with their kids as much. So it's difficult. I'm finding it that the players have changed when they come in. They don't have as much. So I try to help. But again, going back to our players will interact with them a lot more than we will. And so a lot of that comes from the players of the team. And then once we get into the non-championship segment of our team, that's where everything can change. That's where really I can build relationships with the younger players, because we have more time. And when we're in practice, it's not the pressure of, listen, we've only got 120 minutes to get everything done and get ready for the next game or the next practice. During the preseason, I have much more time, or a lot more time, to interact and connect with the new players and the young players. And so, yeah, I would say a lot of that happens later, but there is some, but it's just limited because it's really hard. I have to come do this. I have to go to media day. I have Ram Club luncheons that I have to go to. There's a bunch of different things that have to happen. And so the day is just really short.
Understandable.
Yeah. So it's hard to do that, but I would say we really focus on that a bit more in the off season.
Nice. So what do y'all do what does y'all's training schedule look like to prepare for, in preseason, to have a great season going forward? What did that look like?
So preseason is always a mixed bag. One of the things that the girls have to do is they have to come in fit. If they don't come in fit, then they break down quickly. When they break down, they miss practices, other players get reps, other players get some confidence from the staff. And now that player that's out for a while is missing all those opportunities to prove themselves. So especially with a younger player, it's difficult. So they have to come in fit. And then we try and teach them our vocabulary, which is important. We try and teach them that they must communicate with each other on the field, because I just can't yell and scream the whole game and say, you do this, you do that. And I don't want to be like a joystick coach that's just like, tell them everything that they need to do. So those are things that we do during preseason. In addition to that, we get some basic understanding on set pieces, what we want to do, some basic philosophy of how we're going to defend, which is for us is a little bit high pressing, and it requires more energy. Those are the things probably that take up a lot of the preseason. And then we have a few scrimmages in there. And then once we have those scrimmages, I basically kind of script what we're going to do until our first scrimmage. And then after we do that, it's basically unscripted at that point, because I don't know what we're going to see in the scrimmage that tells me, hey, we're really not good enough at this or that. Where when we're playing against each other, you can't have those things stand out as much as they do when you play an outside opponent. So, and then we start planning the practices one at a time after that point. And then the other part is we're trying to make sure the girls don't break down, and break down physically and emotionally. Physically is a big part, but then emotionally too. You got a lot of players that, for me, I think that the kids that were 13, 14 years old when COVID was right in the heyday of it, I think that those kids were experiencing their their biggest productivity and cognitive development, where their brains start developing and they can start thinking abstractly. And I think some of those kids didn't have that as much because everybody was at home and everybody was worried about wearing masks, and and they just had fear. And so it's really for me, it's a different twist to the players that we have this year and probably next year, the ones that experience COVID the most in those most influential years in their cognitive development. Hopefully I'm saying that right. If some psychology person is watching, maybe they should call in and tell me what I'm right or wrong.
Fact check this.
I just think that there's something that's a little bit different from them. So they're a little bit more hidden or laid back, or they they don't want to be in the limelight. They did a lot of things through social media and not face to face. And so there's just things that seem to be different.
So you're finding a new, I guess, challenge to try to kind of overcome. How are you managing that, like overcoming that?
It's a constant evolution. It's a constant changing of what happens and how players are. So it goes from how they act. It goes to systems that are played in games. There's a lot of things that we have to do that is a constant evolution to meet the needs of the players, meet the needs of the game so we can win games. All those things are things that coaches have to be able to handle. The red tape, the paperwork that coaches have to do now versus what they had to do 10, 15 years ago, it's insane. We have to do some kind of online course or something for nearly everything, whether it's CPR and first aid, whether it's in how to drive a golf cart on campus, how to drive a van, how to, sexual harassment training, all these different things. We have to do all of it all the time now. And so it's a lot. And that's the expectations. And that's how the job has evolved in my mind a little bit, that it's gone away from just focusing on the players and doing a good job there. There's a lot of outside things now that we have to do, fundraising stuff, just everything. So it's different. The profession is different now. And so it's evolved. It maybe is better now for some people. It might be some people don't like it as much. It's not for me to decide how they feel about it. But for me, yeah, it's changed. It's changed.
Gotcha. So during the season, y'all have a busy season. We were talking about before the show that sometimes y'all travel one place, come back for a day, and then have to travel to the next place. Yeah. How do you keep, and you kind of touched on it a while ago with that answer, but how do you keep players from and yourself from kind of burnout in a sense during that season when it's just kind of back-to-back play? How do you keep them strong and mentally and ready to just go into the next one?
We have to make sure that we manage kind of their time. So we try to make sure that when the team appears like they're fatigued and, for example, we just got back from Colorado and we had to drive, and that's great that we got to do those games, but it would have been nice if we'd flown. But, that we've got to do fundraising to do that. And the girls wanted to focus on other things this year. So we got back at 6 a.m. So the next day they have athletic training treatment. Today we're going to have practice. We'll see, but I know that I probably need to be prepared to slightly adjust our practice. It might be the length, it might be the intensity. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see when I get there how their energy is when they do the warm-up and how the energy continues through practice. They know that when they show up to practice, academic stuff, their families, all that kind of stuff, they just need to push that out and focus and be really present on what they're doing. And they really should do that in most of their lives. When they're in class, focus on your academics 100%. You have a test coming up, you need to study, you need to prepare, then you need to set that time aside. And that's what I need to do. No matter, if they want to watch Friends on TV or they want to binge watch something, you got to be able to manage your time. And so we constantly talk with the girls. If you ask them, one of the things that I'd said the most after we finish a practice before a game is make sure that you're hydrating, plenty of clear water, right? Nothing that has bubbles, no caffeine or reduce the caffeine. Eat right, make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. These are all things that require time management skills. And with our freshmen, they're probably the least understanding of that because they've always had mom and dad tell them, we're doing this now, we're doing that now, whatever. Now they get to decide. And they might think, well, binge watching Seinfeld would be more fun than preparing for my exam that I have in a week or two. But we have to do those things. We also have Dr. Warren Simpson that used to be a professor here. He comes in and works with our girls a little bit on team psychology stuff.
Awesome.
Gives them some ideas of things. And then, it's just not going to be perfect. There are times for me, we have at least the same kind of situation. I would say that we have more because there's more that I do behind the scenes as far as getting hotels reserved, having the right documents with us when we go to the hotels. Just all those things are extra things that is just kind of, people don't think about, going and eating at places. Our GAs handle a bunch of that stuff. So it's about me getting the staff to help, and it's nice for me to have. Right now I have 3 assistants. So I have Harold, who's my full-time assistant, and then I've got Nai Celadon, who's my GA, and then we have Isabel Robin, who's also a GA for soccer / the developing coaches program. Used to be developing women's coaches. But having that extra staff really makes a big difference. Just there's so much that we have to do. And if you went to like a D1 school, a bigger D1 school, they're going to probably have a director of operations, and that person will take care of all the hotels, take care of the meals, take care of paperwork, all those different things, so the coaches can watch more film and I can talk to the players more and do more things. And then at D2, it's more about life in the balance, which means that we're not going to have everybody that you would ideally want. You've got to deal with a little bit less and make the most of it. And everybody in D2 kind of has that. So, but we do the best that we can. With my burnout, it's probably there, but I'm used to it, and I just don't allow myself to feel that way. I mean, I try my best. So I do probably what I shouldn't, which is if I have stress and whatever, I bottle it up. And, when my season's done and I can relax, and, I definitely have to spend some time away from the intensity of our season.
Absolutely. What is some of your goals? Not only just as like a team, but maybe even as a coach, going like you've already started the season, but continuing it as well. What are some of your goals you have for this season?
Every season, man, we want to be that one team that finishes with a win. We want to be the national champions. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what my coaching career has been pushed by, is in part in that. It's not the only thing that drives me. The relationships that I have with the alumni, those are, some of them are just really great. I mean, some are out coaching, some are doing different things, but we want to win the national championship. And, last year we were, 8-4-2. So we were 3 games away from being in that game. And it was a good team. This is a new team, and we've got to find different ways to push the right buttons that get the right results. We've got to get healthy. We've got one of our forwards that's been out now for a couple of weeks, and that's probably impacted some of our ability to stretch other teams and get some goals. And but that's when other players have opportunities, and are they ready for it? What have they been doing in practice? If they've been in the, oh, poor me, and I feel bad for myself, then they're probably not ready when that opportunity comes, and they go in, and then they don't do well. And, if they have the right mindset and they just keep working and doing the best they can and be ready when that opportunity comes, whether it's a 10-minute sub or whether it's a starter for, a player that's out injured, or maybe they just start doing better than somebody else and we start taking more and more chances with them. Those are the things that are really nice about coaching, is to see those kids that come in and leave as adults, and really the growth and progress that they've made in their lives. And part of it's soccer, but the soccer part's going to be done for most of them when they graduate. And so hopefully we've done more than that. I think that we've done a really good job of preparing those ladies for life after soccer.
I love that. I love the part of where you're preparing them for after soccer. And, you're right, a lot of them might not go and play,
right,
some kind of league soccer or anything. So what is something that you really hope that they take from this as they leave?
I mean, I don't know, on the spot here, and I'm making life things here. I mean, one of the biggest ones would be responsibility, that, there's not somebody else that's going to come by and clean up your locker, when you get a job. They're not going to clean up your desk. They're not going to tell you to look right when you go into the job, to speak to people correctly, look them in the eyes and talk to them. These are all things that some of the kids really, they haven't been told any of this stuff. Succeed. When you're going to do something, you're going to put time and effort into it, then do it right, and do the best job that you can. If it's a job where you can, move up the ladder, those are the skills that you're going to need. And you're going to need to do those unsupervised, sometimes. You're not going to have somebody there telling you every answer to every question that you need. So have some initiative on your own. And initiative is something that now is, to me, is kind of a foreign word to some people, to some young people, because they haven't had to. They just go, whatever they're supposed to do, they're told. So that's it. If they're not told, then they don't do it. They're like, hey, I wasn't told. That wasn't in the contract. That wasn't in my job description or whatever. And meanwhile, me and all the other coaches were like, yeah, it's the last item in your contract. It says other duties as assigned, which means that basically anything I want to tell you to do, that's what you're going to do. And they need to be ready for some of that. There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be some disappointment. And they learn all of that through soccer. 99% of them did not come in and starting right away, and they're just ultra successful. most of them come in and there isn't a time of adjustment. Some of it's faster than others. But some of those that it takes longer, if they can finally get it, it's a really cool thing to be a part of and witness. So I hope that those are things that the players do. I hope that caring about other people is something that they do. But like I said, yeah, responsibility, initiative, those are, putting in professional effort in what you're doing. Those are important qualities, I think.
Awesome. So lastly, as we start to wrap this up, you are going up against DBU on Wednesday.
Yep.
How are you feeling going up against them after you beat them 3 times last season? How are you feeling going into this game?
I mean, the biggest thing is a lot of people will bring that up, but DBU and us both know, we're 11 players different. We had 3 fifth-year players on that team last year. We had 2 All-Americans, I think 2, maybe 3. I don't know. I have to go back. We had a good number, and then some All-Region players. So most of those players are gone. So we have some good ones returning. Tina Clark was an All-American, and she was a great defender. But I think that Harper Saxon, who didn't get any love from the voting, but I think that she's just as good as Tina. I think Tina's a little bit better in the air, but I think that Harper's faster. So you're like splitting hairs for me. So I think that we do have a lot of good players returning. But if, like I've talked to my defenders several times, you're not playing with the same people out wide of you that you did last year. So you need to talk, you need to explain, and you have to repeat what you've already done, which again, transfers we were talking about earlier about what do you do in the professional life. So if you go into broadcasting, for example, and let's say you're a general manager at a TV station, you're going to have to teach the same things over and over and over until you get into a massive market where there's not a lot of turnover. Like if you're in San Angelo, if somebody's here 2 years, that's a long time in San Angelo, at least from what I've seen with the sports people and that. So if you're a general manager, you're going to have to do it over and over. And that's what I'm trying to teach my defenders is that these new players, they need more information. They need more talk. And so that was one positive of this really long trip to Colorado. They got to spend a lot of time together on the bus, team meals at one of my in-laws' house, which was awesome. All those things are things that help them develop that camaraderie and that trust and that ability to yell at each other without getting mad and saying, I'm yelling because it's important and you need to hear me. I'm not yelling because I'm mad, like in most of our conversations. And there's a very fine line in that. And sometimes it's just in the interpretation and sometimes it's in the way that it's given. But these are things that we're trying to do. I think that DBU's going to be, again, a good team. I think they've recruited some good players. I think that our ASU way of defending them will have to be something that will carry us through. I don't think that we have the same attacking potency that we had last year. But I think we'll eventually do better. And, I'd like to go from 24 and then build on that. But I don't know. I mean, it could be like 23 where we start off slow and then we got going. We finished, I think, 3rd in the conference and hosted Texas International, beat them, and then went to the tournament DBU and lost. But it was a great turnaround. It was one of the seasons that I'm most proud of is 2023, just because of where the team was at when they came in and how we did in those first 7 games. And then to see us finish late in the season and do really well was really nice.
Awesome. So any final thoughts as we're wrapping this up of this going into the season, finishing it out?
I think it's going to be tough. I think that there's new coaches, and I think that there's some newer coaches that are developing some programs. So I think that Lubbock Christian is going to do a good job. I think this will be his 2nd season. I'm sure that he's brought in some new players, so I think they'll be good. We play them, I think, on Saturday at home. Dallas Baptist, again, always good, always tough. So that's our opening into the conference play. That's going to be tough. So for the season, for us, it's about being consistent. And that's one of the best things that the girls can do. If they're up and down and all over the place, then you're Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what you're going to get that day. So hopefully we can develop our consistency quickly.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for everything that you've given us today. You've given us a lot of information. Thank you for joining us. That was Coach Travis McCorkle. And we'll see you next week with another episode of Ramzone. So thank you.